Dr. Allyson, we are live.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fabulous. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good.
Welcome everybody. It is a Friday live. Typically I do these at 7 p.m. with a glass of wine in hand, but Dr. Maida's schedule says 3 p.m. and so I was tempted for the wine, but instead I went to coffee and water. Yeah.
Water.
Yeah. I like to have 2 drinks in front of me at all times. I don't know why. I'm just that way. Always have been.
That's so funny.
The more drinks, the merrier. Yeah. Red wine, cocktail, water, sparkling water. Yeah. All of the different
Have
ones.
it all. You have it all.
All.
That's kind of nice. It's terrific.
Banquet of beverages. Anyway, I am Bridget Flynn. I am the owner of Intuitive Interiors. I'm an intuitive home organizer and stylist, and I'm all about the energy of home and helping people to clear the clutter, clear the crap from themselves as well, so that they can start living their lives the way exactly they want to begin living it. And Dr. Maida also works on people's interiors. So I think this is pretty special in a different way. So Dr. Maida, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I can. Well, I have an office in Westport. I practice virtually, if you will, all over the world. I have people that I work with literally throughout the country in different parts of the world. And thank you, COVID. I've been doing this way before that. So this transition for this office has been nothing, for this side administratively. But it's been, of course, it's been a bit of a transition for people like to be in the office. I have a really colorful palette as far as my background. My initial career stream, if you will, was in the arts. I'm a fine artist. I can paint, I can sculpt. I've had a terrific show at one of the galleries on the Hudson now about 4 years ago, I think. And outside of that, I also have a psychotherapy practice. I went back a few years ago and got my doctorate. So I happen to be one of these sponge people. I love to learn. It's not about overachieving for me. It's literally about, wow, I'm interested in that. Why can't I go do that? And if I have the time and the means, I'll go do it, because I feel like we have one ride here. We have this one life, regardless of what your religious beliefs are or otherwise. There's one life. So why can't we enjoy this as much as we possibly can? So kind of my life and my history is very much like my practice, and the people who come to my practice are very often saying, gee, I feel stuck, or I can't do this thing that I want to do, or I don't know what I want to do. And we've been able to work through and get them to where they want to go. It's really kind of an exciting thing, as well as typical, general therapeutic discussions, a lot of anxiety, especially right now, a lot of depression, especially right now. And I also work with much more difficult circumstances, substance abuse and eating disorders. And it's kind of, again, I've had this great, wonderful palette in my life with some incredible mentors and teachers. And so I have that much more to bring forward. It's really pretty terrific. Of course, there's more, but that's enough for me.
And you're a psychotherapist, correct?
I'm a psychotherapist.
And what exactly does that mean?
Well, depending upon who you speak with, I could be a little bit of a psycho and I could be a therapist. You have to, that's what that could mean. It also means psychotherapy is a mode, if you will, of therapeutic counseling. So it's a mental health approach, it's a psychiatric approach, if you will, barring medication, unless you are on medication, to learning about yourself and learning about your best practices. And my practice takes place from a place of neuroscience specifically. So I believe in long-term results. I believe in not being in therapy for the rest of your life unless there's a reason to be there. And so being very outcome oriented, psychotherapy takes place at a pretty nice pace.
Yeah, so you foster independence in your clients, independence from you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm really excited to have you on. I have been an admirer of your work since I have known you. And I love your big heart. It comes through every time that I speak with you, and your commitment to the community, because you're also doing some other things as well within Fairfield County and Westchester counties, right?
Yes. What things are you talking about? It could be a myriad of things.
Yes. Therapy-ish related, like the talks you're doing with Danica Communications,
Okay.
stuff like
Yes.
that.
Yes, I am doing those things here and outside of Fairfield. Yes, so I don't just speak about psychotherapeutic issues. I also have a background in business, which is a really important thing because a lot of people, people will send their teenagers to me or their children sometimes to me, or they'll come to me because they have personal issues. Other people come to me because they want to discuss business issues. So I'm also an executive coach, which is what my doctorate has to do with. So I am out there speaking lately with Ann Ryan from Danica Communications about things like personality branding, which makes total sense because I understand that, but I also understand psychotherapy and what it means to develop your brand so that your brand can represent who you are, represent your product, and be more engaging. So that is part of what I'm doing. The other thing, this is why I didn't know what you meant. One of the other things that I'm doing is I'm launching a new project. It's a social messaging campaign called All Human. And All Human sends out a basic message to everybody from every background that says you're important, you're viable, you are as capable as you are, and that's okay. And if you want to grow, that's okay. And at the end of the day, really, we're all human. So we're just launching that. The website will go up for that probably within a week. And so that's a big thing. It includes a lot of very large things. So I didn't know if that's what you meant.
I meant both, so it's all good.
I'm doing everything. So anyway.
So this topic of how to succeed in a seemingly unsupportive environment, it intrigues me, because I mean, personally, I think about when I think of like unsupportive, I think about surviving actually, and as I was writing every post and like talking about this, what we're talking about today, I kept wanting to say survive in a seemingly unsupportive environment and not succeed. And so in a seemingly like an unsupportive environment, can you tell us what that looks like?
I can, because this is not COVID-19 has not presented ourselves in our lives individually and as a group with our first unsupportive environment. We've all come up against things in our lifetimes that, we thought we would have support there and we just did not have that. Or we thought that we would be a forerunner in something and knew that there was potential for us not to be supported, and we would have to blow through and stick to what we knew was best. This particular environment has kind of upped the game on that. So you have people that would send their children to school every day. They had their day to, whether it was go to work or they were busy doing things for their lives, and to work for their family. That was a supportive environment. Now there's no child inside of a school building. You have to not only take care of your children full time, all day long, 24 hours a day, but you also have to educate them. All right. And even though the schools give you the material to do that, you have to make your kids okay with staying in the house and doing that and not seeing their friends, or not being a part of their team, or not being a part of just being able to leave the house and go for a bike ride or go to the playground. That is really an unsupportive environment if you think about what it is that you typically need or desire. So that's good. Workplace, it's the same exact thing. You're sitting there, I'm assuming you're in your house with your beautiful bookshelves, correct? Right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my beautiful outlet, whatever that is. So
Exquisite.
I love my outlet. I love this. But in any case, the thing is to go out and to work, that whole water cooler concept of people being able to say, hey, what's going on, that innate sense of competition in the workplace or even in the classroom where, you deliver because you want approval. The approval has changed. And can you generate things from within your home without even Zooming or even being on any other platform? It doesn't give you that same feeling of accountability that you have. It's not supporting who you are. But that idea of survival, I think about it a lot, Bridget, a lot, because we are talking about surviving something that we didn't craft ourselves. You know, we all live these lives that we've crafted, good and bad, and we're not controlling everything, but we've basically crafted where we're at considerably. This had nothing to do with almost anybody. And so it's not a supportive environment right now. And we have to figure out how to survive. My thing is, let's not just survive, let's do better. Let's do way better. Because ultimately you get one ride. You only get one.
Thrive or survive. It's your choice.
That's it. It's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
true. You know, which is hard. I mean, that's hard though, because if you're depressed, you're anxious, you know, you had existing issues before, this compounds that. So I don't want to make it sound like, if you don't make it work, you're not any good. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that there's a lot that you can lean back into that you've experienced prior, just like you've experienced not being supported.
Yeah. Oh, it's very true. How can so like, for example, parents, I feel like it's especially parents. I've had the good fortune to work from home for the last, forever. So this is not that big of a deal for me, and I have no children. So it's a heck of a lot easier for me. And I can only begin to imagine what my friends are going through, and it's very difficult for them. So what are some steps or some things or some mindset shifts that a parent who has school-age children in the home, what are some shifts that they can do to feel more supported or to create more support beyond the things that most of them are already doing right now? Like, they're doing Zoom calls with friends. They are I don't know, creating a routine or something like that. Do you have some advice beyond those that people are already doing?
I have advice, but I'd also like to throw something else in. Less than a couple of hours ago, I had the most spectacular phone call with a parent who said, she's kind of been vexed by this concept of always having to run and go and do. And certainly she's not the only person who said this. I'm always running. And then you get the kids, and then they come home from school, and then you're doing the homework, and then you're doing dinner, and it's like, go, 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 go. Well, we all know that our commutes are basically gone. We know that those running moments are pretty much gone. You're not running your kid to ballet and to art class and to math, whatever, tutors, and there's none of that right now because all of that is shut down, or most of it is shut down. But what this does do, and this is what she brought up, and I thought it was incredible. She said, before I was so busy thinking that it was, it's kind of us and them time. This is the kids' time. This is, my time. And when they were in school, this is my time. And we start to talk about the integration of family and what family is. And like those moments where, and you don't have to have children to experience this, those moments where you're with people that you love and you just go and have a picnic, or you just sit around in the living room. Those moments of where you're cohesive and kind of that love and that understanding that you're all there with each other is sitting in the room, and it connects everybody. That's an opportunity that we have right now. Parents are learning about what their kids are learning about in school. So it's not just sitting at dinner saying, so what'd you learn today? And you don't even know what they're talking about. And the truth is, you may not even totally care because you're really thinking about that other thing that you need to do, like something else, whatever it is, pickleball, laundry, whatever it is, seeing your own friends. All of that gets pushed aside, and we've been integrated at a different level. So I think one of the tips is to step back and take a look at what we really are experiencing. We're experiencing integration. Now look, if you don't want to be with your children, that's a different story. But if you love them, or you like them, or you want to like them, you'll get to know them on a different level. So for those people who have any creative abilities, I don't mean you have to be an artist, anything, do things that are more creative with your children, and don't make school time just from, I don't know, 8:30 to 2 or whatever that framework is. Don't do that. Allow the rest of the day to also be educational without overdoing it. So if you're doing something in the kitchen and you're making dinner, that can become a science class. It can. By the way, if you take Coca-Cola and you put sweet and low in it, it actually causes the bubbles to expand, and the next thing you know, it's flowing over. And kids crack up when you do that, because why would that happen? But there are so many things that you can do with your kids at this point. And then that dinner table experience, that becomes more fun because it's not their time, because we're creating family stability for the children. It's completely integrated us time. And when your spouse or your partner is home and their commute is gone and they're not going to the city or to Stanford or wherever it is that they go to, they're also a part of that environment all day, even if they're cut off in a different room. So that, it's a little long-winded, but it's such an important discussion. It really is.
I love this. It's not about us versus them. And when I say us, I mean like us versus COVID, for example.
Right.
It's about the choice to, and us versus COVID mean like the repercussions of COVID, like having to homeschool, having to work from home, and having to handle all of these excessive stresses. How do you turn lemons into lemonade is the basic question. How are we turning lemons into lemonade? Yeah.
That's exactly it. I would imagine, Bridget, that it's like, I don't know your particular methodology, but I've gone into many people's homes where there is hoarding, or what I call excessive collecting, which is not necessarily hoarding, psychological issue, and a different psychological issue. And you go out, and because you can see things categorically, you're able to create a format to get in there and clean it up, right? When I go in, and I would assume you do something that's similar, is I go in and I look at things categorically also, but I come up with ways that will not create upset. It's something that will create achievement in giving, for instance, all right? So like I remember going into one woman's house, her husband had been deceased for many, many years. She loved him so much that it was so moving. And the man had like 75 trillion, which is probably an underestimation, like fishing poles. Forget the tackle boxes, piles of tackle boxes. I asked her if she fished. She said no, and she was elderly, also riddled with arthritis, so there was probably no fishing for her anyway, but she never fished. That was not her thing. It was her husband's thing. She couldn't let it go, and she had this for many years. And it was one of those houses that you had to kind of worm through. It was really difficult. It was tough.
That's a hoarder.
She was a hoarder for sure, but she was hanging on because she couldn't get past her feelings. And it's kind of like the COVID thing. Once I said to her and worked with her and said, look, why don't we take these things? Your husband liked fishing so much. Let's take this. There are all these people, men, women, children, they can't afford this. They would love to fish. What if we did this and we donated it and we created a foundation in his name of things that just you're passing his stuff on that had meaning? She lit up like the sun and couldn't move that stuff out of her house fast enough. And I see that this viral activity offers us something that's the same. It's if you just step back for a second and take a look at what's happening, you can find out that you have a lot of gifts. Really, you do. And a lot of those gifts we don't exercise because we're so busy being afraid or anxious or upset because this isn't the way it's supposed to be. We know it's not supposed to be this way. And her love was never supposed to die, but he did. And this is the way it is. So the question is, with all of this great stuff that we have, what do you want to do with it? And that's one of the challenges that I've been bringing to people lately. And it's really a nice thing.
That's wonderful. I do work in the same way. It's categorically, but it's about helping the client to move on. It's not about getting rid of the stuff, It's about helping them to move on. I love that idea of a foundation. I'm so gonna run with it. I love it. Yeah.
Feel it.
But it's about where is the gift in all of this? Where is the gift in all of it? And how can we make it our gifts? And it's about mindset. Do you have a mindset of scarcity and fear? And And are you going to keep living in that mindset of scarcity and fear? Or are you going to put a foot in the land of abundance? You know, that's really, I think, what you're urging people to do. Because when you go to discover your gifts, you are delving into a realm of new possibilities for yourself. And that is abundance through and through. Let me just change that right there. That's abundance to me through and through, because it's all new worlds. And so your first suggestion is to integrate as a family. And it's not about us versus the kids, you know, or us versus the nanny and then the kids.
That's right.
Your nanny ain't there no more.
Exactly. The nanny may be gone, maybe.
Yeah. And so this integration of becoming a unit again, you know, of getting to know your children as people, as humans, and still being a parent, you know, setting boundaries, holding them tight, but then teaching your children on different levels, and then teaching yourself these joys of, it's like togetherness. Because I have felt for a long time that, you know, as a culture, as a society of do, of busy, you know, with an emphasis on productivity and what are you accomplishing and what are you achieving and everything. Right. And it naturally creates separation and distance between people. And we're all just longing to be vulnerable with each other and to be with each other. And I think that this COVID-19 pandemic forcing us all indoors has given us this opportunity. Fox News will tell you otherwise. CNN will tell you otherwise, you know. They're like, be scared. Oh yeah,
exactly, be scared. Exactly. Please be scared.
Yeah. But yeah, there are wonderful gifts within it. And the other one is to look at your gifts and see what's dormant inside of you. This is actually one of my favorite topics is what are your gifts? What can you do? You can be so much more than you ever thought possible.
It's true. And also there's a neurological basis for this. So let me nerd out a little bit for 1 second. Thank you. All right. There are reasons to be scared. There are real reasons. There are really people who are really sick. There are really people who have been sick and now they're not sick. And there are people who are no longer with us. And it's not just shelter in place so you can become the best version of you, you know, this saying, the best version of you. There are things to be really scared about. And in our minds, in our brains, our physical brains, we have experiences where we've been really scared. It could be when you were 3, but there's a register for that fear in your head. And when somebody says to you, you could go to CVS to pick up your medication, which is supposed to make you healthier, and you can die, there's going to be a register. It could be the register of when you lost your grandparent, or a friend in school was in a car accident, you lost your friend. It is whatever it is, but your head pulls that up. On the same exact scale, your brain also has registers, if you will, for happiness, joy, accomplishment, these things that you're referring to, or I refer to as gifts. Okay, that moment of just true satisfaction. You know, I often say that, you know, we use this word happiness a lot, which is not, I love the word happiness, I love being happy, but it's more about feeling satisfied, because happiness is a derivative of satisfaction. So when you think about it, if you stop, literally, Bridget, in this second, or whoever is joining us right now, and you stop for a second and think about that time that you were truly, truly satisfied, like, think about that. It feels it's so good. It's so solid. That's part of the trick for how to survive and do better in an environment like this where there are real threats. Okay, where you have a threat, you have an opportunity. Unfortunately, that's the truth. All right. So we have to figure out how to exercise whatever opportunities that we have so that we can really come out of this so much smarter, you know, so much better. And also, we're going to have a transition period of time. This isn't like, okay, you flip the switch, everybody stays in the house. You flip the switch, everybody goes back out. Even though 25 million people in the US went out, I don't know if you know this, in the earlier part of this week, 25 million people went out because the weather was nice in comparison to the previous week. So the weather is becoming nicer in certain parts of the country. Things are happening. We're going to have some soft openings, if you will, again. And people are going to think that they can storm the gates. And then people are going to a certain segment, they're going to retract because it doesn't feel safe enough. In all of that transitional space, you still have to ask yourself, who do I want to be in this? What effect do I want to have on the people that I come in contact with? How do I want to come off to my family and my friends? If I go out and it freaks me out, do I come back in and freak everybody else out? Or do I say, guys, that totally freaked me out, but I think there's a better way for us to do this. This is just share your thought. So that's a gift because you're bringing satisfaction to the table.
You have to catch yourself. A lot of people will just, they feel afraid, and then everything around them justifies that fear. And so then they feel justified to just spiral out and take everybody with them, you know?
It's the truth. Listen, there's nothing like a little vortex, you know, in the household, you know, or in your workspace. A vortex, it pulls everything in. So the question is, how do you can have your own little vortex from time to time, your own little meltdown, but really, what are you doing? You know, what are you bringing to the table? You know, what are you doing? And it's also bringing something to the table is, what are you doing for yourself? You know, so, okay, so we all started baking. That was a lot of fun. Okay. It should be momentary. Everything is for a season. So you want to just eat with abandon. You do what you want, but ultimately, whatever that is that how you want to feel later? You know, are you so frustrated that all you're doing is smoking? And people smoke cigarettes. Is that all you're doing? Have you upped your smoking? You know, I said to somebody, this country, by the time we're done, is going to be the most well-fed alcoholic nation in history because everybody's Zooming and drinking and eating. It's much about this. So if you happen to like exercise, which everybody does not, is that in your life still? Maybe that's the place where you need to go blow off some steam. But really, ultimately, you have to kind of look ahead a little bit also and ask yourself, like, who do you want to be? You know, and what do you want your life to feel and look like there? What is that? And a lot of that will help you, gives you a direction. You end up going nowhere if you have no direction. So yeah.
We have to catch ourselves. We have to really catch ourselves before we get into that twisty slide into the vortex.
That's right.
And be willing to do an about face on it, to reach into the next best feeling thought. Like what's one step ahead of me of this feeling that I'm feeling right now.
That's right.
Yeah. Step by step.
Right, because if you say, I can't get out of this, and some people, like, I don't want to pretend again that things don't exist. Some people cannot get out of their own way. You know, their upset is consuming, okay? What do I say to those people? If you can't shake it, call somebody. And if you don't know who to call me, but call somebody, because there are lots of people out there that can help you. You know, don't do that all by yourself because, you know, it's your own voice in your own head. You know, sometimes you need more, you know, so don't, you know, it's because that I find very upsetting when people think that they have to get through it themselves or they'll show that they're weak. Meanwhile, they're falling completely apart. And again, this is going to come to some kind of an end and will be transforming. So whatever you've cultivated, you'll be taking with you.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So your tips for succeeding in an unsupportive environment are to integrate with those who you're with. So no matter if it's COVID-19 or if you are at work and it's seemingly unsupportive, you know, in the office, getting with colleagues who are of a like mind, who are also supportive, becoming a team in that way. And then to discover your gifts and let these be the ones that pull you through.
Right. Or allow those great attributes that you know you've had for a long time, allow them to come out and be actualized, and let those things come out and play, so to speak. You know, there are so many things that we're all so good at, and we're like, I can't do that now. You know, I can't do that now. Well, actually, you can do that now.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Again, even if you're in a dire circumstance,
Yeah.
you can do that now.
It's a choice. It is all boiling down to choice.
It's all about choice. And, this is an opportunity to figure out what it means to live on your terms to a significant degree. Again, we cannot control everything. We do not control everything. But how do you define yourself in this, or whatever circumstance you're in, whether it's supportive or not? So if it's not supportive, how do you want to manage that? Management is a big issue. How do if something's badly managed, it goes awry. So you need to kind of, plant your feet on the ground, take a couple of seconds and think, about how you want life to be.
Yes, I love this. So how would you roll this then into the personal branding?
Personal branding is great. I love this, Bridget. So thanks for bringing this up again. This is
I love it. I love it too. Talk to me.
Let's do this. All right. So in any case, there are two sections here. You have your business and then you have your personal life. Okay. What I like about personality branding is that you can really apply it to both places. So let's do the personal life first. We put out into society or into the world or into those that we integrate ourselves with the picture that we want them to see. Okay, the question that I always have is that real or is that something else? Okay, is there substance behind who you say you are? Okay, can you bring all of the proof of that to the table? Or is it just a facade? Personality branding in business is the same exact thing. If you have a product, okay, this is really heavy, this paperweight, I have this product on my desk, okay? If I'm selling this particular product and I tell you all about it and I tell you that, it's very light and but it keeps your papers down because it has some kind of extraterrestrial something to it, I'm telling you something that's not true. So when you receive it, you're perceiving that I'm selling you something that I am in fact not. You will never trust me again. And now in the world of technology, you might put a review out there that tells everybody that I'm not telling the truth about my products. There goes my business. Good business is built upon things that you can stand on, that you can rely upon, that are consistent, okay? That you know that if you need that, it will do that particular thing, or if you want that, it will do that particular thing or serve up what you're looking for. A lot of this is emotional. So if I feel attached to you, even if it's a product, okay, I have a tendency to go back into that direction, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with stuff in your house, okay? The reason we have all of this stuff in our homes, by the way, much of it is about utility, but a lot of it has to do with our emotional attachment to it. Now, I wrote an article a long time ago. It's on my blog. And I think I had told you about this at one point. It's called, something about stuff. I felt like George Carlin when I wrote that. But it really has to do with the emotional attachment. And I'm sure that, you experience this with your clients, right? It's all about this emotion. It's the same thing with personality branding. If you have something that you're looking to brand, whether it's yourself, your family, your product, your business, are you able to connect to the people that you're trying to bring in? Does your product represent that? Does your product represent who you are? A lot of personality branding also has to do in business with who we are as human beings. It's no wonder that I'm launching another business that's called All Human. It's no miracle. It's because that's how I think. So that vehicle is filled with a lot of things from my career, and it kind of brings it into one space. When I hear you speak and talk about what you do, it's filled with your personality. Okay, and you have all of this engaging material that you use so that people feel comfortable and that they can work with you and find results. That's what personality branding does, and that's what it basically is.
Interesting. I never being in business for myself, and I always hear about who you are as your brand. I hear that a lot. How are you branding yourself? And and basically your whole life is your brand. Like that's how it is perceived these days. And so if you are hiding anything, anything false, if you're presenting anything false, you know, you are found out sooner rather than later. And it's really important to bring who you are to the table, because people are buying who you are. You are like, there are, you know, I think there are 1,000 organizers in Lower Fairfield County.
Because we had so much stuff in Fairfield County.
I know, right? So, but anyway, like, you know, it's like when I you know, personal branding within business and within your personal life as well, like I found that it actually helped when I finally like when I owned the energetic side of organizing and the intuition and aspects of it, like I finally married them. I stopped being scared of my competition, because I ain't got no competition. There's just me, you know? And so this is my unique aspect that I bring to the table. This is why one of the reasons why people use my services, because they love that I'm intuitive and that I can see them on very deep levels and bring that out in their home. And other organizers will go in and do a beautiful job of decluttering and organizing, but they don't connect with the client in the same way and bring out the client's beauty and make way for their gifts like I do. So, and then I bring that into all of my friendships as well. I can't not do it. I'm always like, tell me your dreams. What are we doing today? You know, how are we making those come true? You know? Yeah.
That's great. But, you know, also the other piece is this, is that, you know, it's like, you know, advertising 101. There are a billion shampoos out there. Why do you choose the shampoo that you do? You know, you're walking through the aisle in the pharmacy or wherever, and there are all these things. How do you choose? It could be the design of the bottle, okay? It could be the promises in a commercial. It could be something your friend told you, or a colleague. Okay, it could just be that you like blue and the lid is blue. It could be anything, but it's got to be something that attaches you to the product. Okay, and if it goes south, it goes south, but there's a reason why you tried. And when you buy it, you'll really try to like it at first, even if you don't. So if you have people who connect to you, Bridget, because you are intuitive and you're insightful and you bring what you perceive as a different depth to this relationship, because that's what it is, okay? It's a real relationship at that point. That's something that people can really hang on to. And when you leave their house, you're not like, I took half your stuff, I'm going to drop it at the dump, and I'll see you later. You don't disappear. That ethic, okay, and those personality traits drive a lot of what's happened, so that when you leave, there should be a sense of calm and a sense of accomplishment. That thing stays forever. We're back to the brain. It stays in your brain. It stays in your head. Unless you lose that part of your head or you have some kind of damage, and I mean that, it stays in your head. You know, yeah. So I mean, what you're talking about is a very important, it's significant topic.
I find it fascinating, and I would love to hear, well, what would be like, what are your top, you know, 2 or whatever tips to help us to understand what is our personal brand for those of us who are watching and are either having difficulty developing their business brand, or just like, how do you determine what is your personal brand?
Well, right now, part of my personal brand is feeling uptight because my neighbor has become once again industrious.
Can't hear a thing.
Can't hear it?
No.
Great. Because it sounds like he's really cutting big things up in the next door, so I apologize. Thank you. All right, so your personal brand. So you're asking me really, how do you locate your personal brand? Your personality?
Yeah, locate's a great word. I like that.
Well, because you have to go find it. So that's what I'm thinking I'm hearing. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so in any case, what you have to do is you have to do kind of an inventory. You have to do a self-assessment. Okay, first of all, if you have a product or a service, which is generally the issue, you want to ask yourself, what is that in place for? You know, everything that we offer is there to meet a need. Everything. Okay, it could be your own need, but generally speaking, if you're selling it, it has to meet the need of somebody else or many other people. Right? Once you've established what that is, you have to picture this in your head. It's easiest to do it this way. If I were bringing this physically to you as a consumer, what would I want to say as I brought it to you? You know, Again, if I go back to this heart thing, this very heavy paperweight, if I brought it back, what would I say as I brought it to you? This, I want you to have this because, that because should be built on your need. Because you have a lot of papers and it's windy in your office or you have a big fan, this will help to keep your papers on the table. Well, that's great. Now it's functional. Well, why would you buy it from me when you could buy it from somebody else, maybe even for less? Okay. Now you have to put personality into your business. You know what? If you don't like it, you can return it, no questions asked. Okay, it's kind of like Nordstrom's. I remember this great tale about Nordstrom's. Who knows if it's true? But they used to have, I believe they still have a great return policy. It's supposed to be a no questions asked policy. And there was a story years ago about a woman bringing a tire to Nordstrom's and saying, hey, this tire, it like is not good. And they took the tire back. I don't really believe that that's true, but the story's so good that literally people go, remember that story? Let's go to Nordstrom's. Really? Why? Because you know that when you go to return something that you're not pleased with, no problem. There's a roofer, okay? And he has, that I'm thinking of, and he has a policy, he has a guarantee on his work, no matter what, for an extremely long period of time that far outweighs the warranties of the product. People call him back again and again and again, and they send their friends to him. Why? Because that is what he does. That's part of your personality branding. And then when you go to write yourself up, you're writing that material into our company does this, our company does that, because we believe that you're, you know, you as a customer, that truly you're number one. Not like we don't talk about you. This is a relationship and we want you to like us and we want to deliver. So that's really how you do your inventory. And those are a couple of examples, you know, on how to do that.
I
Did I
love
answer
that.
the question?
Yeah, no, that's great. I like the idea of having to locate it. And it really sounds like just in general, like people remember generosity, you know, something that you don't really, genuine generosity, they remember, and then they respond in kind. So how would you relate, like building your personal brand or finding your personal brand, how would you relate it to succeeding in an unsupportive environment?
I think a lot of it has to do with consistency and strength. Right now, we're going to lose a lot of businesses, especially the small businesses. A very upsetting period of time. We're seeing large businesses, you know, enter Chapter 11 status, businesses you'd never think would be there. And you have to wonder, you know, how they'll restructure and how it will not affect their client base when in fact prices will probably go up. So I think this has to do with consistency. It's, you know, you're asking yourself, you know, what do I do in a tumultuous period of time and how do I bring people back in? You know, one of the things that I'm personally not comfortable with is saying, hey, we have a virus and a lot of people are miserable. So I think you need psychotherapy right now. So my door is open. See ya. Here's my phone number and my website. That's not my personality. And is it a bad thing to do that? No. If you can do that, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. But I'm here and I know I'm here and a lot of people know I'm here and I will market, but I will not market to build upon a disaster. Do I work with disasters? I do. And I'm qualified to work with a major disaster. Okay. But do you throw yourself in with your like little happy flag? That doesn't speak to who I am. It doesn't speak to what I want my business to represent. In that way, I get to come out and say, hey, I've been working virtually forever. I know how to use this technology. I use about 5 different platforms. I can make this feel easy for you, even if you've never used a computer in your life. I know how to do this. You will be okay. That is me bringing part of my personality brand to my client base or my prospective client base. It's not that I'm better than anybody else. It's this is what I do. So like you, there are lots of therapists in the area that I work in. Lots of them. Like there are lots of nail salons, okay? And multiple Starbucks. It doesn't mean that one is necessarily better than the other, but it's what that place brings across. It's going to allow them to continue to be in business. And I look at this. I'm looking at this a lot as a business consultant. When I think about the small businesses that have not been able to open up their doors, my big question in my head is, if they're able to survive long enough to get back out there and open that door up, what's going to make sure that they're going to be able to be sustainable? Because it's going to be a tough transition. It's not going to be open the doors and you have this constant onslaught. I think it may ebb and flow. Okay, so what is it that created continuity? And I think continuity and solid footing, I think a lot of that is what combats things that are unknowing. We don't like to be in a position of not knowing because now we've lost control. So as a professional, can you bring some control back to your client base or your prospective client base?
I love this. I think this is a great thing. I'm sure you've already been doing it, but a great thing to talk about with local small businesses, because they're panicking, they're anxious, and it's like, and how do we manage this in a masterful way that feels very welcoming to our clients and makes them feel very safe to come in and use our products or our services, to be present in our facilities. I think this is phenomenal, and then it becomes a part of your brand, because it's about the feeling. It's like how you make people feel and how you deliver.
Think about it. When you talk about anything that was cataclysmic, anything that was chaotic, any disaster, what's the one thing that you hear all the time? You know what? They were there.
Yeah.
Big deal. It's a big deal. So whether you're talking about, and I don't mean to be dark and deep, but that's part of my shtick, right? Whether you are talking about a virus that is pandemic, you're talking about fatalities, community fatalities, okay? Or you're talking about an independent experience that was extremely upsetting. At the end, you look back and you ask yourself about who was there, who was really there, even if you didn't connect with them, who was there?
I love this.
And that needs to be a part of the brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I have an interiors client, Elm City Wellness up in New Haven, and they are, the owner is Marissa Gandelman, and she is so dedicated to the community. I so admire it, how she's showing up for the community. And they're always talking about like what it's going to be like when they open doors, because they started to open, they were in the process of opening a second location, and then the pandemic hit.
That's rough.
But yeah. It's like she's like, we are forward no matter what. She's like, and she says this publicly, I am like, one day I'm like, everything's gonna be great, and the next day I'm in the depths of despair, but I do know that we are going to be okay in the end. And she's guiding her clients through this and showing them how we're taking care of the second location, what it's going to be like when they open again. So she's still top of mind in her clients. She's still taking care of her community, because that is her brand. That's like who she is to the core. She is taking care of people, and so she gets to be herself and her brand, and it's still speaking throughout this pandemic. And I think it's really smart and really caring as well.
Right. And again, not everybody can do that. Not everybody has capital to do that. Not everybody has the emotional strength or wherewithal, or well-being even, to do that. She has a lot of energy. That's obvious. So yeah. She's forward, she's in, she's going. Not everybody can be there. So you have to ask yourself, what happens for people that can't be in that space? And what do? Do they become helpless and hopeless? Very often that's where they go, because they have to retreat. So what do we do as a community or as independent, people? What do we do to help them out so that they don't feel like now everything's an epic failure? That's back to what do you have? What can I bring to you? You know what? Your business is going down. How can I help you? I may not be able to help you keep your doors open, but I can be there for you, because I've been in business and I've struggled too. It's that like-mindedness. It's really important. It's just, I think it's critical. I do. And I've seen this, I've worked in the hospice field for a long time. And, Bridget, when you're standing next to somebody's bed, and this is really the truth, and they're fading, and your family is there, and it's the end, literally the end of the world, and people are losing, there's still something that you can bring, and it's about being genuine. It's about being transparent enough to say, let's take a look at this, and you really count, and your issues are very real, and this is what I can do to help you in this period of time. It's just as great as standing with a little kid who wants to be a better athlete. It's the same thing. The messaging is basically the same, and so this transcends. It's seamless. It transcends a lot of spaces, but that's the way to pierce an environment that's not supportive. And everybody can't be happy. I had somebody say that to me a couple of days ago. Everybody can't be happy, like as having their natural effect. And that's really the truth. But what can you bring to that person? It's just having a tough time. Yeah. And again, if it requires professional experience, then that's where they should go. Not because they're broken and failed, just because why do you need that forever? You don't need that forever. You need it as a supportive environment, because as biological entities, we like to be with other people, and you used the word together before, and I keep saying we're all alone together. I've said this since this thing really hit the ground, because we may be alone in our homes, but we're really together doing this.
That we are, absolutely. And people are coming out to support each other in so many ways. And that is this growth of love, between people and in community is a real, I think it's like a balm to the collective heart, shall we say, it's
lovely.
There's a poet inside of me, Dr. Maida.
It's beautiful.
So, and I am, I'm always a half glass full person in general. And I see this as an opportunity. And I've had my dark moments, of course, like everybody has. But I realized that it was my choice. It was my choice to be there. And, I had financial difficulties, but I overcame it, because I was like, I can stay in the pit here, and or I can come back out. And I came back out and I made money, because my business is all about in the home, and I couldn't be in people's homes anymore. So what am I going to do?
Right.
You have to change. You have to change with the times. And I like to go where the happiness is, really.
Because that's your personhood.
Yes.
For the people where that glass is half empty,
or just on empty.
Empty, it's completely empty. For the people who are there, they have had good moments too, and that's part of the suffrage. Is that why can't I feel like I used to feel? Why do I not feel like that time that whatever happened? Why is everybody else having a good time and I feel like this stinks? Because it does stink. Those people also, I think that this conversation is for everybody. I do. So we have to be careful, because both of us are glass half full, flowing over, rivers, tributaries. That's part of who we are, but that's not the reality for a lot of other folks. So I think you need to be sensitive, we need to be sensitive to that. And for those people, again, it's take a second. It's a neurological trick, if you will. Go inside your memories and ask yourself about that time that you felt good about something. What made you feel satisfied? What was that satisfying thing that happened? Whatever it is. Those are the moments where you get to close your eyes for a minute, and you get to literally neurologically relive something. There's evidence of that in how you feel. The more you do that, the more your brain functions like that, okay? And unless it's purely chemical, okay, unless there's a chemistry situation that's causing you to always feel terrible and you can't escape it, there are no good moments of satisfaction in your head. If it's not purely chemical, you socially have learned to stay in a space that's really tough, because your brain is dictating to you how you should be thinking and responding and behaving. Your brain, I say this to everybody, your brain is running everything. We took your brain out of your head and threw it out of the window. This would cease to exist. Don't do that. Don't do that. But this is running everything. So it's really important to go to what you have. And what you have is the brain in your head It is holding every experience you've ever had, ever, unless there's some reason for it to not be able, that it wasn't able to maintain the memory.
So yeah, that's your top tip then for people who are, because you can do it right in the moment, is to just think about that happy moment, that very satisfying moment when everything felt good, just for that moment, and think about it, hold it in your mind, hold it in your heart, and feel it, like relive it.
Allow it to come back through the doorway in your head. It's one thing to go in and say, you have to relive this. It sounds almost, not that you sound delusional, but there are some people who will say, that's delusional thinking. That's just ridiculous. But it's not ridiculous to say, look, if you want to go somewhere else, you have to take that first step. You have to open up the doorway to get into that other place. It's turning the doorknob. It's lifting your foot up, which can be very hard, and taking the first step in that, whatever that direction is. It's a really hard thing to do for some people. But when you make that step, you turn that doorknob, you apply a little pressure, or maybe a lot of pressure, that door will open and you'll see other things. So I'm not as concerned for people about living the moment. I'm concerned about them allowing their brain to activate that space, because when you activate those connections in your brain, there are other connections that light up, if you will. And the next thing you know, you're feeling something. So it's stopping that, when did I feel satisfied again? Because when you say good, it becomes a little subjective. So when did I feel satisfied? Like Bridget, if you do it right now and you think about something you experienced, you didn't even have to do it yourself, something you experienced that was satisfying, truly satisfying. How does it feel?
I'm imagining cutting paper with really good scissors, and it's fantastic.
Now you're laughing. And that's the point. When I stop and think about that, I think about a myriad of things, and I end up smiling and I end up laughing. You're laughing. I mean, I was watching you, not to shrink you on YouTube Live and Facebook, but as soon as I said it, I watched you put it into place, and your eyes changed and your face, you started to change and something was happening. And then you gave me the moment, and then you were laughing. That's what I'm talking about, because that can infiltrate the darkness. And when you live in a time that is uncertain and it's unknowing, and you don't know what to do, and you don't know where to go, and you don't know what the next step is. And I just wrote an article about this, that things keep changing. The information is just always changing. You don't know what to do. There are things that you do know. And what you do know is when you cut that paper with those scissors, that was great.
Heck yeah.
What I was saying?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I know that when I made that gluten-free Irish soda bread, that was great. Like, I found the right flour, and that was knock it out of the park material, and nobody knew. And that feels good that I was able to do something and nobody knew that it was gluten-free.
Look at you, you magician.
Look at me, a little deceitful. I told them. But, but there are all these things that you can run through your head, and some of them are really big. But a lot of those moments are really, really small and seemingly unimportant, but they're not, because of what it does to you. That changes the environment. So when you're in a circumstance, whether there's COVIDity, as I now call it, or there's not, it's my new word.
I like it.
I will have it in the dictionary, I promise. All right. The thing is whether it exists or not, you will experience times in life where it's not supportive, where somebody doesn't approve. If you're doing the right thing, or you need something to happen, you have to go into a place where you can find your personal strength to do that. And we're going to make it through this pandemic, because this pandemic, like other pandemics, they don't get to survive forever. They don't do that. Why? Because human beings are very cool. And when we pull the right stuff into place, we're good. We're busy pulling it into place. And everybody has to do their part.
Precisely. We're all doing our part.
Yeah. I hope so.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maida. This has been very helpful and enlightening and fun. Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
So how are you working these days, and how can people reach you if they want to talk to you?
Well, they can look at my website, which is www.allisonmaida.com. And they can look at your website and find the spelling, because my parents were out of control. So it's ALLYSONMAIDA.com. Okay, or they can call me at my phone number, which is 203-227-1622. That is probably, those are the best ways, like carrier pigeon, smokestack. Those two ways are probably the best. Look, I'm here, but I'm here because I've always been here. And I'm not going to leave, because this is what is right. And this is what I do. And I love that I can do this. And I should probably say this. I don't believe in keeping people in therapy forever. I believe in, let's do this to get you to the place where you need to be, because you need to be satisfied. And let's get you going. And if you need to come back, great. And if you don't, it's okay. But, I think this is really about doing better than surviving. That's what I really think.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for asking. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, people, you can leave questions in the comments. Dr. Maida or I will be happy to answer them and get back to you on them. And thank you so much for watching. And if you are feeling the need to discuss any anxieties that you're having surrounding COVID-19 or not, if you are a small business looking to because you're a small business consultant, and so you're helping small businesses, like guiding them through this pandemic as well. So for those small businesses who are needing Dr. Maida's help, I highly recommend her. She's magnificent, as you have witnessed today. Thank you, Allyson, for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you lend me your scissors. I just want to say that. Thank you.
I need to get new ones, and it's also about the quality of the paper. It's like you have to have thick paper, like that really makes it satisfactory. Yeah, I'm one of those.
We'll have to work on that. I just want to say I work with large businesses too, like major corporations. So as an executive coach, and I work with acquisitions and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to throw that in. But yes, if you need me, please call me. And Bridget, thank you. This has really been an incredibly great discussion. Really enjoyable. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Maida. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm just going to stop the recording now.